son of his old age, and he made him a coat of many colors. And when his brethren saw that their father loved him more than all his brethren, they hated him and could not speak peaceably unto him. So they hate Joseph, okay? But Jacob loves Joseph. And so the brothers are out there, and they're up to no good. And Joseph, you kind of see in the story, he's I don't know, maybe a little bit of a tattletale. Goes back and tells his brothers, his dad what his brothers are up to, and so kind of gets himself in trouble there a little bit. And we don't know the context of it. We don't know if he was right or wrong or whatever, but he did go and talk to his dad. And then something happens that really, really pours salt in the wound. Verse number 5, and Joseph dreamed a dream, and he told it his brethren that hated him, and they hated him yet more. And he said unto them, here I pray you the dream which I have dreamed. So here's his dream, and he decides to tell his brethren. And I think the moral of this story is going to be, you don't have to say everything you know, okay? And here's what Joseph does. He says, for behold, when we were binding sheaves in the field, verse 7, and lo, my sheaf arose and also stood upright. So we're binding sheaves in the field, and my sheaf rises up and stood upright, and behold, your sheaves stood round about and made obeisance to my sheaf. So he's like, we're binding these crops up into sheaves, and my sheaf stands up, and yours just gathers around my sheaf and bows down to my sheaf. And he tells them this dream, okay? And you can imagine they did not like this. And his brethren said to him, verse 8, shalt thou indeed reign over us? Or shalt thou indeed have dominion over us? And they hated him yet the more for his dreams and for his words. And he dreamed yet another dream and told it his brethren and said, behold, I have dreamed a dream more. And behold, the sun and the moon and the 11 stars made obeisance to me. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. And his father rebuked him and said unto him, what is this dream that thou hast dreamed? So he dreams that there's the sun and the moon and the 11 stars, and they made obeisance to him, okay? So he tells his dad, and his dad's like, you can't say this stuff. What are you talking about? So not only is his brothers mad, his dad who loves him is like, you shouldn't say this stuff. And he told it to his father and to his brethren. His father rebuked him. Now, verse number 11 says, and his brethren envied him, but his father observed the saying. And his brethren went to feed their flocks in Shechem. Israel said unto Joseph, do not thy brethren feed the flock in Shechem. So what you're going to see is, as you read this story, and we're not going to touch on every little line of it, but basically, the brothers go to take care of their sheep, and so he asked Joseph, your brothers are down in Shechem, I'm going to send you to them. And Joseph was always a good boy and always did what his dad wanted him to do, and he said, here am I, and I'll go. And he said, go, I pray thee, see whether it be well with thy brethren and well with thy flocks, and bring me word again. So he went, sent him on his way out of the vale of Hebron, and he came to Shechem, and a certain man found him, and behold, he was wandering in the field, and the man asked him, saying, what do you seek? And he said, I'm looking for my brethren. Tell me, I pray thee, where they feed their flocks. And the man said, they are departed hence, for I heard them say, let us go to Dothan. Okay, so they were in Shechem, and now they're all the way in Alabama. That's how I've always read that, okay? I don't know if that's good geography, but so he says, no, they're down in Dothan. Let us go to Dothan, verse 17. And Joseph went after his brethren and found them in Dothan. Now watch this. This is key, verse 18. And when they saw him afar off, even before he came near unto them, they conspired against him to slay him, kill him. And they said one to another, behold, this dreamer cometh. Now, I want you to think about these things, because Joseph is on the outs with his brothers, and you're about to find out that they're even to the point where they're killing him. Why are they? There's 2 or 3 wounds that they suffered or perceived, okay? What was it? They saw that their dad doted on Joseph, loved him most. Secondly, he had 2 dreams, and both of the dreams ended up being where Joseph was in an elevated position, and they are bowing down to him, and kind of following him, and this just rubbed them the wrong way, okay? Now, what we know of, if you know the story of Joseph, is that this is just basically a prophecy. God had revealed to Joseph, although he didn't understand it, what was later going to happen to him in his life, and no doubt it plays out just like that. But so Joseph's coming, and they say, hey, this dreamer's coming, let's get rid of him. So here's what they do. Come now, therefore, and let us slay him. Verse 20, and cast him into some pit, and we will say some evil beast hath devoured him, and we shall see what will become of his dream. And Reuben heard it, and he delivered him out of their hands and said, let us not kill him. So you see Reuben, and if you were here last week and you tracked the sons of Rachel and Leah and Bilhah and Zilpah, Reuben was the firstborn to Leah, okay? So this is the oldest boy, and he steps up, and they're like, we're going to kill Joseph. Well, he steps up and basically says, let's not kill him. And so what do? They concoct a plan. Let's not kill him. Let's put him in a pit, and let's leave him there, okay? And then he was going to, if you read the whole story, they were going to come back. A couple of them were kind of conspiring. They were going to come back and get him out of the pit and kind of smooth things over. But what happens is that there's some traveling merchants, if you read the rest of chapter number 37, that are coming along, headed down toward Egypt. And what they do is they take their brother, okay, and they sell their brother into slavery. They sell their own brother into slavery. Now, one of the hardest parts of this whole story is seeing the pain that this causes, because what you're about to find out, and if you read the story, is the pain inflicted on this dad. This is his boy. This is who he loves. Rachel bore him Joseph, right? Benjamin. He loves these boys, okay? And he loves him, and he's heartbroken because of what happened. And then to be lied to by his other boys, the other 11, that some wild animal has taken him, because what they do is they go back and tell their dad, hey, wild animal killed him. See, here's his coat. And they use that coat and they kind of tear it up and put blood all over it and deceive their dad. And isn't it kind of crazy here too, how that Jacob, who was a deceiver, is now in his later age getting deceived by his own sons? When you allow sin, when you allow problems in your life, it makes it so much easier for the next generation to do the same thing, okay? Makes it so much easier for the next generation to do the same thing. That's why we've got to be the best that we can be in our lives, because we got to set the example. I heard years ago preachers caution Christians, and I think it's true that you've got to watch what you do, because what you are, I heard one preacher say this one time, and I've thought about it a lot, what you are on your worst day is going to be what your kids are on their best day. So that low mark is going to be their high mark. And I don't know if that bears out in every situation, but that's something to think about. We have got to strive to thrive in our lives and be what we're supposed to be. And so many of us, if you're like me, we struggle and we fall apart on that. Now, if you're reading through these last few chapters of Genesis, there's some stories that kind of deviate from the Joseph story, and we're not going to get into all of those, because the purpose of this is not to go into every little avenue, but it's to give you a good overview. Now, I want you to see, so Joseph, I just want you to see this too. His world is wrecked. Think about that. You live with your parents, okay? You got your dad, your grandfather is Abraham, okay? Your great grandfather, your grandpa's Isaac. Your dad is Jacob. These are patriarchs. You grow up and you know the Lord and all these kind of things. And they're wealthy. They have everything that they need. They got plenty of cattle, plenty of people that work for them. They got everything, right? And then you're ripped out of that and you're sold as a slave. You know that so many people who found themselves in terrible situations in the Bible ended up being greatly used of God because they did not use that as a crutch for not being able to follow God, not being able to serve God. Think about it. Joseph's a prime example of it. I'm sitting here thinking about Daniel. Hananiah, Mishael, and Azariah, or Shadrach, Meshach, and Abednego. What happened to them? Nebuchadnezzar came in, took them, ripped them out of their homes, took away, probably killed many of their family, took them by force, took them to Babylon, hundreds of miles away from where they grew up, changed everything, changed their diet, changed their dress, changed their names, ripped everything. And what happened? They still served the Lord. What you're going to see about Joseph is he's a remarkable man that found the Lord and had integrity in each and every situation. I'm not going to stand here and I'm never going to tell you that life is going to be easy. I'm not even going to tell you that life is going to be fair. But I'm going to say this, you can follow the Lord no matter what circumstances you find yourself in, okay? God can bring good out of a bad situation. Did you know that? God can bring good out of a bad situation. Hey, what do you tell kids in a high school? I don't know what to tell them. I told them yesterday, this is a horrible situation that you're never going to forget. But you can come out of this better than you were before with a different perspective on life and on picking up those around you. And you Christians being watchful and mindful. Who around me needs a pick-me-up, a smile, a hug, a word? Who do I need to carve out time for in my life? No matter the circumstance, God can bring beauty out of ashes. He can. Joseph is a prime example of that. So Joseph is sold down into Egypt. And he is sold to a man. If you read chapter number 39, he is sold to a man by the name of Potiphar, okay? Now, Potiphar is let's just read a few verses. Verse number 1, and Joseph was brought down to Egypt, and Potiphar, an officer of Pharaoh, captain of the guard, an Egyptian, bought him of the hands of the Ishmaelites, which had brought him down thither. And the Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man, and he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian. By the way, the Lord was with Joseph. See, I've met some Christians sometimes. You ever met somebody that's like, if there's anything bad that happened in your life, God doesn't like you? That's kind of their view. Oh, that bad thing happened. You lost your job. Oh, God must be mad at you. What sin did you commit? What did you do in your life because this happened to you? Well, Joseph, okay, if he did anything wrong, he was too honest. He told his dreams, right? He didn't do anything to deserve being ripped out of his house, sold into slavery, but the Lord was with him as a slave. Because what you're going to find out at the end of the story is God had a plan all along, and he needed Joseph in a certain place. And God was sovereign over that. So he goes down to to Egypt, Potiphar's house. The Lord was with Joseph, and he was a prosperous man. And he was in the house of his master, the Egyptian, and his master saw that the Lord was with him, and that the Lord made all that he did to prosper in his hand. That's one thing I always watch out for in the story of Joseph too, is that whether it's Potiphar or later on it's the jailer who's over the jail, or if it's Pharaoh himself, they recognize something, okay, in Joseph, and they gave him all the authority he could stand. Why? Because God was with him. I've seen business owners like that before. I've seen people who weren't even Christian, but they had a business, and then they got some Christian that was working for them that had God was just all over. And they were wise and they were smart. And I've seen some smart businessmen throw as much of the responsibility and the leading and the guidance of those businesses to those people, because there ain't nothing like somebody that's got God all over them, okay, in leading, okay? And so it's very good. If you're a business owner, watch for those people that read their Bible and pray and walk with God, and give them the most important positions, because they're going to have wisdom, and God's going to bless them, and as a result, going to bless you, okay? That's just good economics right there, okay? So Joseph is down here. He's in Potiphar's house, okay? He rises through the ranks, and if you look down at verse number 6, and he left all that he had in Joseph's hand, and knew not aught he had save the bread which he did eat. And Joseph was a goodly person and well-favored. So Potiphar likes Joseph so much, even though he's a slave, he's doted on there. Not only did dad dote on him back home, but Potiphar does too. And so he elevates him through the ranks and gives him authority. And he didn't even know, the Bible says Potiphar didn't even know what he had except what he would eat. His bread that he ate, because Joseph controlled everything. I mean, he was over everything, and Potiphar didn't have to worry about it. And Joseph was a person of integrity, could be trusted, okay? So many lessons in here for good, godly character in our life, okay? Now, and it came to pass, verse number 7, after these things, that his master's wife cast her eyes upon Joseph. And she said, lie with me. So here is the big problem that arises is he's in Potiphar's house. Potiphar has elevated him. And Potiphar's wife likes Joseph. And she comes on to him very hard and she asks him to sleep with her, lie with me. Watch this, verse number 8, but he refused and said unto his master's wife, behold, my master wotteth not what is with me in the house, and he hath committed all that he hath to my hand. There is none greater in his house than I, neither hath he kept back anything from me but thee, because thou art his wife. How then can I do this great wickedness and sin against, not Potiphar, God? So he says, no, I'm not going to do that. And he turns her down. Well, watch what happens. And it came to pass as she spake to Joseph day by day, that he hearkened not unto her to lie by her or to be with her. Okay? So this lady came on to Joseph not once, but she did it every day. Okay? And Joseph continued to say no. He never said yes. He said no, 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 day after day after day. Now, I'm gonna let you in on a little secret here. It is hard to say no to the wrong thing day after day after day. I don't care who you are, okay? When the enemy brings something against you, it's hard to do. And I'm gonna give you a little cheat code, okay, about the Christian life. It is so much easier to avoid sin than to resist sin, okay? I don't care who you are, I don't care how strong you are, and it could be temptation like this, or it could be anything, okay? It is hard to continuously say no to the wrong thing when it's right there and when it's easy, okay? It's hard to do, okay? And nobody is above anything. I believe that, okay? But the best way to stay clean and stay pure is to avoid sin altogether. If you in your life can be smart enough and honest enough about your life to say, you know what? I'm a sucker for that. I'm a sucker for that. And if I were the devil, this is how it hit me. If you can look at your life in that context and say, I know how he's going to come at me. I know his game plan. And if you can put yourself in a place to avoid and not have to consistently, daily say no, because you may have a bad day. You may have a weak day. You may have a day where you ain't feeling it, and it's easier for you to say yes. So I want you to avoid this, because Joseph was some kind of believer, some kind of Christian, because he said no, 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 and never said yes, all right? How hard is that? It's very, very hard. So what you want to do is avoid it. Avoid temptation. Avoid sin. Dodge it. The Bible says in the New Testament, it says, do not make provision for your flesh to fulfill the lust thereof, okay? Do not make provision for the flesh. What is God saying through Scripture? He's saying, don't make it easy on your flesh to say yes to the wrong thing. Make it hard on your flesh. Make it hard on yourself to say no. And so that's what Joseph does. So she comes at him. He says no. Okay? Verse number 11, and it came to pass about this time that Joseph went into the house to do his business, and there was none of the men of the house there within. Okay? And she caught him by his garment, saying, lie with me. And he left his garment in her hand. This is why you do not wear robes, okay? wears something that can't be easily, right? There's a moral of the story, right? So she comes to him and he is so like freaked out by her. She comes strong on him and she grabs his clothes and he runs, literally runs, you can't make this stuff up, runs out of his clothing. And she is so upset that what she did, he left his garment in his head and fled and got him out. Look at the next verse. And it came to pass when she saw that she had left his garment in her hand and was fled forth, that she called unto the men of her house and spake unto him, saying, see, he hath brought me an Hebrew unto us to mock us. She goes, my husband brought this Hebrew slave down here to mock me. Look what he just tried to do. And she had his clothes in her hand, and she looked at him and said, he tried to force me, and look, here's the proof. Okay. That is a bad day right there, isn't it? Here's a good man who said no, 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 over and over and over and over again. And then even though it's not true, he's winding up, getting accused of something that he did not do. Okay? What you're going to see about Joseph is he knew what it was to be lied about. Knew what it was to have people come against him falsely, right? Reminds me of the verse in the New Testament. It says, Jesus, I think it's Sermon on the Mount, he said, blessed are ye when men revile you and persecute you and say all manner of things against you falsely, right? I've seen a lot of people say, oh, see, when people are slandering you, you're blessed, okay? No, that's not what it says. It says when they say those things against you falsely. So if you did them, you're not blessed because they say them, right? But look at the integrity of Joseph. And the main thing is he doesn't lose his integrity over this, okay? So Potiphar comes home, and the wife, if you read the rest of the story, she says, look what he did. What are you going to do? If you read the story, I don't think Potiphar believed his wife. But what are you going to do? His clothes are in her hand, okay? So he takes Joseph, and he throws him into the prison. Throws him into the prison. Verse number 23 says, the keeper of the prison looked not to anything that was under his hand because the Lord was with him, and that which he did, the Lord made it to prosper. So the Lord, Potiphar throws Joseph into prison. Verse number 21 of chapter number 39, but the Lord was with Joseph and showed him mercy and gave him favor in the sight of the keeper of the prison. So not only was he a slave, but now he is a lied about slave who's in prison. And I don't know how long they were planning on keeping him in prison. I don't know what the penalty would be. My suspicion is that Potiphar didn't push it too far because I think if you read between the lines, he kind of knew what was going on and probably knew how his wife was and things like that. And he didn't push it and come down probably as hard. He could probably have had him killed if you want to be truthful. But God had a plan and he ends up in prison. And God was with Joseph in prison. And guess what happens if you read the story? Joseph begins to rise through the ranks in prison. He is the most popular prisoner. The jailer loves him and elevates him to where everything within the power of the jailer to give to Joseph is under Joseph's control. He's the number 2 in the prison under the jailer. And he had favor with the Lord, and the Lord was with him in prison. Okay? Here's another bad situation. Not only you're a slave, but you're in prison, falsely accused, trying to do horrible things. And my goodness gracious, how much worse can your life get? Right? You're the great-grandson of Abraham, grandson of Isaac. Your dad is Jacob, and you're rotting in a prison in Egypt, falsely accused, lied about, stolen from your home. Your brothers betrayed you. Not one of them, 11 of them. Think about that. See, because there's probably people in this room, there's probably people within the sound of my voice watching online. You know what? And life has not been easy for you. Life's been tough for you. Life's been hard. Maybe it was hard with your parents growing up. Okay? Maybe it's been hard. Maybe you've had a spouse walk out on you. Maybe you've been stabbed in the back by a mother or a father or a close friend, hey, things have been tough in your life. If you know the Lord Jesus Christ, there is always hope for you. God is with you, and God can bring beauty out of that pain. And that's the lens you have to look through. And the story of Joseph can be such an encouragement to you. Chapter number 40. It came to pass after these things that the butler of the king of Egypt and his baker had offended their lord, king of Egypt. So we got a butler and we got a baker. Okay? Butler is the guy that answers the door and gets the coat, and I want something to drink and fill my cup, and just kind of like a personal assistant to Pharaoh. Well, he had made Pharaoh mad. Well, Pharaoh threw him in jail. And then the baker apparently messed up the cookies or something, and he got thrown in jail. And Pharaoh was wroth against two of his officers, against the chief of the butlers and against the chief of the bakers. And he put them in ward and in the house of the captain of the guard, into the prison, the place where Joseph was bound, okay? And the captain of the guard charged Joseph with them. So you get the feeling, too, that everybody who had Joseph around just let him do all the work, and they just kind of kick back, right? So the chief butler and chief baker of Pharaoh get thrown into prison, so they get placed under the jurisdiction or under the control of Joseph. Now, here's what happened. Verse number 5, and they dreamed a dream, both of them, each man his dream in one night, each man according to the interpretation of his dream, the butler and the baker, the king of Egypt, which were bound in the prison. And Joseph came in unto them in the morning and looked upon them, and behold, they were sad. So the butler and the baker are in the prison. They both have dreams. They come in, they're sad. Joseph starts talking to them, and he says this, wherefore look ye so sadly today? And they said unto him, we have dreamed a dream, and there's no interpreter of it. And Joseph said unto them, do not interpretations belong to God? Tell me them, and I pray you. So he comes in, they've dreamed a dream, and they don't know what the dreams mean. Joseph comes in, he's like, interpretations belong to God. Tell me what you dreamed, and I'll see what I can do, okay? And the chief butler told his dream to Joseph and said to him, in my dream, behold, a vine was before me, and in the vine were 3 branches, and it was as though it budded, and her blossoms shot forth, and the clusters thereof brought forth ripe grapes. And Pharaoh's cup was in my hand, and I took the grapes and pressed them into Pharaoh's cup, and I gave the cup into Pharaoh's hand. And Joseph said, this is the interpretation of it. God revealed to him the interpretation. He's hearing this dream, and God tells him exactly what that butler had dreamed. Here's what he said. He said, this is the interpretation of it. The 3 branches are 3 days. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head and restore thee unto thy place, and thou shalt deliver Pharaoh's cup into his hand in the former manner, after the former manner when thou wast his butler. So he tells him, he's like, you can get your old job back in 3 days. That's pretty good news, isn't it? You're going to get out of jail. So if you're the baker over there, what are you thinking? I dreamed a dream too. All right. Tell me mine and what's going to happen to me. So what happened? Now, notice verse number 14, he tells the butler, he says, but think on me when it shall be well with thee, and show kindness, I pray thee, unto me, and make mention of me unto Pharaoh, and bring me out of this house. So he says, when you get out after 3 days, don't forget me. Okay. So then he turns to the chief baker, verse 16. When the chief baker saw that the interpretation was good, he said unto Joseph, I also was in my dream, and behold, I had 3 baskets on my head, and in the uppermost basket there was all manner of baked meats for Pharaoh, and the birds did eat them out of the basket upon my head. And Joseph answered and said, this is the interpretation thereof. The 3 baskets are 3 days. And the baker's like, okay, we're good so far, right? But then watch what he says. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off thee, and shall hang thee on a tree, and the birds shall eat thy flesh from off of thee. I'm sorry I asked. That's probably would have been the words out of my mouth. Now, if you look back at verse number 13, in telling the butler, watch what he says. Like, he should have chose some different words, because here's what he said. Joseph says, in 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thine head. Okay? Now, look at this. Verse number 19. Yet within 3 days shall Pharaoh lift up thy head from off of thee. So he's going to lift up your head, and you're going to get your old job back. He's going to lift up your head, and you're not going to have a head, okay? I mean, like, it's, all right? I always got a kick out of that. So not good news for the baker, okay? And Joseph doesn't bother to say, remember me, okay? So what happens? Well, 3 days pass, and guess who gets their old job back? The butler. Pharaoh has a change of heart, lifts him up out of prison, gives him his old job back, okay? And the baker, guess what happens? In 3 days, he's gone, okay? Joseph has interpreted these dreams. Now, here's the deal. What did he say to the butler? When you get out, don't forget me. Guess what he does? He forgets him. Don't forget those people that are instrumental in your life. Don't forget those people who do little things for you. Be a person who is appreciative, and don't forget to say thank you, and don't forget to return that favor and to shine that favor back on them. If you ever get the chance, return that favor. But all that leads up to this, okay? Because we're not done with dreams. Somebody else has a dream. His name is Pharaoh. He is the king of the known world, okay? He is the king of Egypt. At this time, probably the most powerful dynasty, most powerful people in the world. And Pharaoh has a dream, and he cannot remember the dream. He doesn't know what's going on. He is just in a state of confusion. Look at this. And it came to pass at the end of 2 full years. 2 years. 2 years have gone by. I wonder how many times he thought about the butler. Man, he forgot me, didn't he? He forgot me. Pharaoh dreamed, and behold, he stood by the river. And behold, there came up out of the river 7 well-favored kine, that's cows, and fat-fleshed, and they fed in a meadow. And behold, 7 other kine come up out of the river, ill-favored and lean flesh, and stood by the other kine upon the brink of the river. And the ill-favored and lean kine did eat of the 7 well-favored and fat kine. So Pharaoh awoke. So he dreamed, and there was basically 7 fat cows come out of the river, and they're eaten, and 7 skinny cows come out of the river, and the 7 skinny cows go over and eat 7 fat cows. And he slept and dreamed at the second time. So he goes back to sleep, and he goes and he dreams again, and behold, 7 ears of corn came upon one stalk, rank and good. And behold, 7 thin ears, and blasted with the east wind sprung up after them. And the 7 thin ears devoured the 7 rank and full ears, and Pharaoh awoke, and behold, it was a dream. It came to pass in the morning that his spirit was troubled. And he sent and called for all the magicians of Egypt and all the wise men thereof, and Pharaoh told them his dream, but there was none that could interpret them unto Pharaoh. Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh. Okay? So he's there, he can't remember his dream, he doesn't know what's going on, and he's trying to figure out what these dreams mean. His spirit is troubled, and guess what? He is telling all his folks here, they know he's upset, they know he's trying to figure out what these dreams mean, and he's very upset, and what happens? Who's there? Who's in the room? The butler. The butler that got out of jail 2 years ago as a result of Joseph telling him what was coming before he knew he was getting out before he even came. Okay? What happens? Then spake the chief butler unto Pharaoh, saying, I do remember my faults this day. Yes, you do. You messed up. Pharaoh was wroth with his servants, put me in ward in the captain of the guard's house, both me and the chief baker, and we dreamed a dream in one night. So he starts telling this whole story that happened to him 2 years ago. He's like, Pharaoh, I was in jail. You remember he got mad at me and the baker, and I dreamed a dream, and Joseph told me my dream, and the baker dreamed a dream, and he told him his, and he starts recounting this whole thing, and he said, there's a guy named Joseph, okay? And there was with us, verse number 12, a young man in Hebrew, servant of the captain of the guard. And we told him, and he interpreted to us our dreams, to each man according to his dream he did interpret. It came to pass as he interpreted to us, so it was. Me he restored into mine office, and him he hanged. Then Pharaoh sent and called Joseph, and they brought him hastily out of the dungeon, and shaved himself, and changed his raiment, and came into Pharaoh. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream. So they go get Joseph out of there, and I want you to notice this. They bring him in and changed his raiment, and they shaved him. Can you imagine what Joseph probably looked like at this? I mean, he's, I don't know, Unabomber. I don't know whatever it is. Hey, I mean, look at him. And, or that picture of Saddam Hussein. You remember that one when they pull him out? Like, yeah. But just a younger version. And they pull him out and they shave him. And they're like, hey, you got to go meet Pharaoh. And so they bring him in there. And watch this interaction with Pharaoh and Joseph. And Pharaoh sent, they called him. And then verse number 15. And Pharaoh said unto Joseph, I have dreamed a dream, and there is none that can interpret it. And I have heard say of thee that thou canst understand a dream to interpret it. Now watch this. Now, if you had been waiting and rotting in jail 4 years, okay, and praying and begging and pleading with God to get you out and telling everybody, hey, butler, don't forget me. And then finally, he doesn't forget you and he remembers you and you get out and you're freshly shaven, freshly bathed, you got brand new clothes on and you're standing before Pharaoh and he's like, can you do this? Are you going to say, no, you can't? No, you're going to say, I can do anything, man. That's what you're going to say, right? I'll do anything to stay out of jail. No, watch what he says. I hear you can interpret dreams. And Joseph answered Pharaoh, saying, it is not in me. That's not what I would have led with, okay? I would have wanted to keep him on the hook. I would have been like, yeah. But watch what he says. It is not in me. God shall give Pharaoh an answer of peace. I want you to think about that. We only have a record of Joseph interpreting 3 dreams. The butler and the baker and Joseph's, and Pharaoh's, okay? He doesn't have a long track record of doing this, but he's confident God is going to do this. And that's what he says. And Pharaoh said, in my dream, behold, I stood upon the bank of the river, and he recounts the dream, okay? You get down to verse number 28. He tells him his dreams, and he says, this is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh. No, I skipped down. Let me see where I want to jump in at. And Joseph said unto Pharaoh, the dream of Pharaoh is one. Verse 25. God hath showed Pharaoh what he is about to do. The 7 good kine, or cows, are 7 years, and the 7 good ears are 7 years. The dream is one. And the 7 thin and ill-favored kine that came up after them are 7 years, and the 7 empty ears blasted with the east wind shall be 7 years of famine. This is the thing which I have spoken unto Pharaoh, what God is about to do. He showeth unto Pharaoh, behold, there come 7 years of great plenty throughout all the land of Egypt, and there shall arise after them 7 years of famine, and all the plenty shall be forgotten in the land of Egypt, and the famine shall consume the land. And the plenty shall not be known in the land by reason of that famine following, for it shall be very grievous. For that the dream was doubled unto Pharaoh twice, it is because the thing is established by God, and God will shortly bring it to pass, okay? So, tells him his dream, and Joseph responds. He's like, this is what God's about to do. You got a double dream, but it's the same dream. You're going to have 7 good years, and you're going to have 7 bad years. 7 years of plenty, 7 years of famine that are going to make you forget all about the 7 good years of plenty, okay? Well, long story short, in the nature of making cabinet appointments, as we've been watching on the news the last few days and nominating this one for that one, Pharaoh immediately realizes, guess what? I got a big job. We're going to have 7 years of plenty followed by 7 years of famine. We have got to fix this, and we got to fix it now. And he said, I need somebody to do this and to run this and take this and be the mastermind of putting this together, okay? He needed a task force. He needed somebody. And if you read the story, guess who he picks? He picks Joseph. God's favor was on Joseph. It was on him in Potiphar's house. He rose through the ranks. He was on him in prison. He rose to the second command under the jailer. And immediately, God used him to interpret Pharaoh's dream and to speak truth to power, and he elevated him to second in command in the entirety of Egypt. I want you to realize that. That's crazy. 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 Now, so Joseph begins to prepare, okay? Joseph begins to prepare, and he marries an Egyptian girl, a Gentile bride, and has kids, and and does all this, and he begins to implement this plan. They know that it's going to come in just a little while. Now, here's what I want you to understand. So they begin to stockpile food. They begin to, you can read all about it. There is basically a system put in that Joseph comes up with to stockpile food, and so they'll have plenty. And he creates huge stockpiles to be able to feed not only Egypt, but to have a surplus to be able to sell the rest of the world. And if you read this, it is a master plan, and they use it very effectively to end up with most of the land in Egypt, trade people out of their land during the famine and all this kind of stuff, and just really enriches Pharaoh and the leadership through what Joseph did. Now, here's the crazy thing though, okay? So the 7 good years come, and they stockpile, and they put things back, and there's all kinds of lessons that you can draw throughout all these stories in the Bible, but that is a great lesson for, by the way, it's a lesson that our ancestors used to have, that you're not always going to have fat years. You're going to have some skinny years sometimes. You're not always going to have fat cows. You're going to have skinny cows sometimes. And it is very important to just financially to be a preparer, okay? Be somebody who is prepared for that unexpected thing that comes up in your life. Be somebody that puts back. That is what your grandparents believed in. That is what we should believe in. We live in a society now where you get it and you spend it as fast as you make it. It is startling how many people do not have, they make good money, but everything that they make comes in and goes right out immediately. That is not a godly way to handle your money. That is not a godly way to handle the resources that God has given you, okay? There is something that I want each and every one of you to understand, and this bears repeating. We're not going to get through this whole story tonight anyway, but you and I have got to understand, first of all, that everything that we have, okay, comes from God. I want you to see everything, and that includes your finances. Every bit of it comes from God. Without God, you wouldn't have it. You wouldn't have the job. You wouldn't have the career. You wouldn't have the retirement. And let me say this to you. All of it can go away. We need to honor God in everything that we do, okay? Trust in him, honor him, include him in your finances and your money. But let me say this to you, okay? You need to be a preparer, okay? The average, I saw a stat not too long ago, and I believe I'm telling you correctly. It was 85% of Americans, if they had to come up with, I think it was $1,000, they couldn't do it. Okay. I may be a little off on those numbers, but it was extremely high. It might have been $500. You can't come up with it. Okay. Now I understand. Well, Brandon, inflation, and Brandon, this and that. And I get it. Okay. But I want you to understand this. It is very important that you put back and that you save and that you teach your children those things. You should not, okay, if you're working and you got money coming in and God's blessed you with a good job, okay, I don't care if you're 18 or 20 here, or I don't care if you're 60, okay? If you've been blessed, live within your means, live according to a budget. Don't get caught up in the I gotta have this and I've gotta have that, okay? I'm all for people having stuff and having things, okay? But just because you're a human being doesn't mean that you deserve that. If God blesses you and you have that, okay, and you decide you want to buy that and you can do it without infringing upon your family's ability to survive or your ability to eat or your ability to save, hey, more power to you. You want to have nice clothes, you want to have nice cars, that is fine. But we have got a bad habit of living above our means in America. And we've taught our kids to do that, okay? We got an entitled generation largely coming up. And you know what? They've had 65-inch TVs for 10 years, 15 years. They're carrying around I had to go upgrade my daughter's phone the other day. Those stupid things are like $1,300, $1,400 now. for an iPhone. I was looking at the prices, looking at it. Got her a flip phone. No, I'm just kidding. Got her a can, and it's got you're just talking to it, a string. All right, we're going to get her the string for Christmas, but she got the can. But you know what I mean? I mean, it's crazy, okay? Can I tell y'all something? All right. There was a time that we survived without cell phone. I don't know if you know that. I learned the other day that when we were back in the Rocky Mountains hunting, your cell phone didn't work, okay? You can actually survive without it, right? All right? Going through withdrawals, but no, I'm just kidding. No, you know what I'm talking about? Hey, do you know you don't have to have all that, all right? We are spoiled as a society, okay? Everybody has got an expense, and your phone may not be $1,200, but it may be, I guarantee it's hundreds of dollars if you've got one in your hand, okay? That's just what they cost, okay? What a lot of people pay for cell phone bills is far more than I ever paid for my first house. You know what I'm talking about? Hundreds and hundreds of dollars a month people are paying for phones. All I'm saying is this. You need to prioritize your life. Live on a budget. Every person in this room, you should have a written budget of your monthly expenses. I believe this, and you need to do it. You need to write it down. You need to know what you spend. You need to know what you make. How much am I going to bring in? How much am I going to spend? And you need to not let anything, those bills are priority. These things are priority and nothing else. We eat out all the time. We waste so much money, okay? So much money. Gas stations, Mountain Dews, sweet teas, McDonald's, Taco Bell. I'm telling you, you would be surprised, probably, how much you spend, okay? You gotta limit that. You gotta sit down and say, you know what? I make X amount this month, and my bills are X amount, and I've only got this much, all right? And you need to budget that, and you need to put some aside, okay? I can't remember what my papa said, but it was something to the effect of every dollar you make, you try to live. What was it? It was something basically you wound up with about a quarter, okay? 20, 25 cents out of that dollar you're going to try to squirrel away, all right? And that generation, man, that generation, if you've ever known some of those old timers, they'd have money hid. How many knew somebody that's hid money? Okay, I had family members that they hid it in the freezer. Okay, they'd have you like open up the freezer and you got all these vegetables that you can, and then down in there's I've heard them. You put it in a coffee can and bury it in the backyard. Right? That's where Jimmy keeps all his monies, in coffee cans. And yeah. But no, hey, you squirrel away. You save, put it aside. Joseph come in and he said, look, I got 7 good years, but 7 bad years are coming. You need to teach your kids that, okay? I left for Colorado. And you guys know this. This is how life goes, right? Stuff breaks, right? As soon as I left for Colorado, guess what? The pool pump went out, so the water's not circulating. The leaves are falling, and you can't circulate the water. And so it's going to be like brown if you don't get this fixed, right? And I'm leaving. Ice maker goes down. There's no ice in the house, right? You've heard happy wife, happy life? Yeah. It wasn't that way. Oven went out. You can't cook. You can't have ice water. You can't, and the pool's brown. I mean, it was like, oh my goodness. What happens? That stuff happens, right? It happens, okay? That stuff's going to happen. You're going to need some money set aside to buy a new pump, and you're going to need so you got to do this and you got to do that. You have got to have that squirreled away, okay? You got to prepare. And that's just a good lesson for us to live by there. And Joseph took over Egypt, and he said, look, we have the opportunity now not only to prepare for us, but also to prepare to be able to provide not only for our people, but for others. And just live your life in that way. Take what God's given you, count it as a blessing, and prepare, put aside, And the takeaway tonight that I want you to take from as we get into this story of Joseph is the integrity that he had no matter the circumstances. Integrity that he had no matter the circumstances. Let that challenge you. Let it challenge me. And we appreciate you being here tonight. It's 8 o'clock, and we're going to stop right there. Pray with me. Lord, we love you. Thank you for this day. Thank you for blessing us. Please watch over us and just pour out your Spirit upon us. Let us be a Joseph. Let us dare to dream the dreams you've placed in our hearts. And help us, Lord, to always be exactly what you want us to be, persons of integrity, people who do the right thing no matter what. And Father, let beauty come from ashes. Let beauty come from the bad situations that may even be in this room. People have had horrible things happen to them. Help them to be a person of integrity and a person of God, a godly man, a godly woman, and let beautiful things come from their life, no matter how fractured it has been. In Jesus' name.